Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. I'm Mark Owen. In this edition, how Christians in Syria and Iraq keep faith and carry on in the face of genocide waged by the radical jihadists. Christians have either fled to seek safety or been slaughtered by killing campaigns waged by the Islamic State group and Jabhat al-Nusra. In hard statistics, the population of Christians in Syria has fallen from 1.25 million to now under 500,000. The likes of the US Secretary of State, John Kerry, former of course, have already spoken out calling for the targeting of Christians by the jihadists to be classified as genocide. Our report features Christians outside the city of Raqqa. They continue to worship at their church, even at the height of the Islamic State's reign of terror. Now the jihadists are boxed in. A dramatic, violent endgame is unravelling. But the Christians are still being shot at. This report from Chris Huby and Mathieu Delmas.
Jacques Benanhindo is 76 years old. He's the Archbishop of Hasakeh in Syria, a majority Christian city located 200 kilometers away from the city of Raqqa. He runs his church in the midst of Syria's chaos. This morning, it has a new bullet hole.
It came from the windows that we can see over there. This was a warning. This is meant to silence me. But I cannot remain silent, because I can't accept that my identity, my freedom are taken away from me. I cannot accept that the freedom of my people is taken away.
The Archbishop has been living in Hasakeh for almost 50 years. Even though his church has been threatened for months, he does not intend to leave.
When all the faithful will be gone, then I will leave. But some will remain, some will remain. I'm not leaving.
Since the beginning of the Syrian conflict in 2011, Christians have been targeted on all sides. In Hasakeh, they've gone through hell. Kurdish fighters have been fighting for weeks to encircle Raqqa. They began their push to retake the city in June 2017. For Christians, despite the hope brought by the IS group's downfall, the nightmare continues. We meet a community whose destiny is being written in blood. Hasakeh is a northeastern city crossed by the Khabur River. With more than 180,000 inhabitants, it's one of the biggest cities in the country. It's famous for being home to Syriac Christians. In 2013, the IS group started to move into the south of the city. In 2015, jihadists violently attacked the villages of the Khabur Valley. Only the intervention of Kurdish forces has pushed them back. Over time, Hasakeh has become the symbol of a conflict-torn city. The Christian majority feels trapped on all sides. Since the beginning of the war, Bishop Benanhindo has dedicated all of his energy, at the risk of his life, to protecting the faithful.
This is the center of the city where everything goes down. See, today, there's nobody here. Everyone's afraid.
You know them, the guards, a little bit?
This is not a guard. This is a checkpoint. This is not a guard. Sometimes there are 3, 4, 5 people here.
Benanhindo does not appreciate at all the presence of Kurdish militia in front of his church.
The city is now divided. From here to there you have the army, and from here to there you have the YPG, the Kurdish militia, and they've installed this checkpoint. I asked them to remove it. They didn't do it, because they put it here to know who comes in and out of my home. The bishop is targeted by the presence of YPG who are there. I asked for their chief. They didn't answer as usual. They do as they please, or they turn a deaf ear.
Each street is divided between Kurdish and pro-government factions. Christians struggle to preserve their identity in the midst of the chaos. But these last years have been especially traumatic for them, with the IS group's abuses. For the very first time, Benanhindo has agreed to come back with us to the destroyed villages of the Khabur Valley. Despite being only an hour's drive away, the bishop has never found the strength to see the disaster for himself. At the entrance of the village, a first building is destroyed. This is the water tower. Even though they've been losing ground for several months now, the IS group still attempts to dry out regions by systematically bombing them. A bit further, Benanhindo goes through a Kurdish roadblock on foot and finally finds the villages. IS group fighters have left nothing behind them but crumbling ruins. Backed by the international coalition's airstrikes, it will take the Kurds several months to liberate the villages. Thousands of Christians have run away, leaving behind their houses and all of their belongings. After a few minutes, the bishop arrives in front of a heap of ruins.
Do we really have to climb up there?
This is the village church, or rather, what's left of it. It's completely destroyed.
Oh Lord, what nonsense. There are no words. I cannot find the words to speak, to explain. In my head, I feel as if something is partitioned, imprisoned. I cannot reason anymore. What is the point of reasoning anyways? The damage is done, ever since the 13th.
On February 13th, 2015, 40 IS group trucks showed up in several villages in the valley, in Tel Tamar, Tel Shamiran, and Tel Hermuz. The churches were systematically ransacked, the houses burnt. The jihadis specifically target Christian symbols. In the village of Tal Tal, the church is destroyed. Only the bell tower remains.
I see this as a tomb, exactly as a tomb. The bell is there. It's still there. Oh Lord. This gives hope. To hear it calling again to prayer. Let's hope that the people around will not believe in a miracle. No, there is no miracle.
MAROKEL SILVIO is Christian. He is the only inhabitant of the village. After several months of exile in Germany, he came back alone. He tells us about the arrival of the IS group.
We were woken up to the sounds of Allahu Akbar. We gathered up and got a call from Asaki. You have to leave. Daesh have arrived and settled in. We managed to get to Asaki. We settled in the church and people took good care of us. ISIS did not hurt us, but they destroyed the church anyway.
Why did you come back? There's nothing more important than a home, a village. Syria's soil is like gold.
Cursed be them. Cursed be these people who came to destroy our country. Obviously, we want freedom and paradise. But this is not freedom. Freedom that was before the war.
In recent weeks, Christian families who have taken refuge abroad are getting organized to come back despite the war still raging in Raqqa.
I want to put it back there.
They will have to start again from scratch and rebuild everything. The region was famous for being the breadbasket of Syria. The economic situation is disastrous. The IS group went after all Christian shops and businesses. Boris KABEZIAN is 62 years old. He's Armenian. A successful businessman, he had opened a large restaurant in the village of Tal Harbush.
This is it. Babel Palace. Babel Palace restaurant, it's mine. It was wonderful. The evenings here were wonderful, really. Almost all the Assyrian villagers spent their evenings at my place, especially during the summer. They had weddings, engagements, and all of these joyous occasions all happened at my place.
The Bab el Palace is covered in IS group graffiti.
This means our chief forever, Prophet Muhammad. See how they destroyed everything? They broke everything in the restaurant. They even stole the ceilings. You see, they are looking for me personally because I was selling alcohol. And this was forbidden among fanatical Muslims, among terrorists. They want my head because I'm a Christian, because I own this restaurant.
What do you have left?
Nothing. Nothing at all. Only these walls and this ground.
The loss of his restaurant has cost Boris hundreds of thousands of euros.
What a pity.
Boris will probably not be able to reopen his restaurant, but neither will he give in to IS group threats.
I swear to you, I'm not sad. When I explain to you what happened, I'm not sad, really, because I'm still alive. I still live, my family still lives, my children, and for me, this is very precious.
Despite his story, Boris was much more fortunate than most Christians. Tommy TAMRAS is 23 years old. He's also an Orthodox. Tommy was in the village when the IS group arrived. He and his family were kidnapped and held for ransom from the church. He agreed to tell us his story.
At the morning of the day, the 23rd of February in 2015, the ISIS soldiers have entered the village and took all of the village people like hostages for them. For us, we were like doomed to pay money for our lives, okay? So they had to treat us well. But when they saw that the church is like getting laid with the pain of the money, they killed 3 of us, and that's a fact. And they have taken a girl from our village as a slave for them, and they made her to marry the governor of Raqqa area. There's no mercy. They let my father witness the whole killing scene. After that, they made the other 3 kneel behind them, and they let my father tell the church to like hurry up in the papers and hurry up in the paying of the money, so their destiny will not be like the destiny of the 3 that have been killed for us. Me and my father and my family, my brother and sister, we had to stay the whole year. We had to stay the last people who were released from ISIS.
Unlike many Christians in Syria, Tommy survived. After these events, hundreds of Christians fled the country and found shelter in Europe. Back in Hasake, those who stayed are wondering about exile, especially the youngest.
We can go now to have the market in front of us.
Eli is 22 years old. Orthodox Christian, he studies engineering at the university.
We are going now to Karam Cafe. I hope there is electricity there.
Really, this is the big problem right now in Hasaka, I think, electricity, no?
Yes, not in Hasaka, in all Syria. Because Daesh cut oil pump and cut electricity links from Damascus to here, from Aleppo to here.
We arrive at the coffee shop, one of the rare places of distraction in the city. Eli is a regular.
I'm so friends here.
Like hundreds of other young people in Hasake, he thinks about leaving the country.
We have Gabby here.
Are you okay? He won't go to Canada because he won't see Niagara.
Eli is stuck in Hasake. He wants to leave, but doesn't yet know how.
I like to go to complete my studying, a magister, master, or doctorate in IT, but I don't like this. I can't get the visa from to Europe just for refugees. If you're not refugees and go to overseas and go to Greece and you spend a lot of money just to go to Europe, Europe don't like it.
Like many others, Eli plans to stay here and wait for better days. In June 2017, Arab Kurdish forces began their assault on Raqqa, a battle that, like the fight for Mosul, will likely be long and difficult. Even with victory, the future of Hasake's Christians remains unclear. The question of their place in Syrian Kurdistan will soon be raised, and these years of war will leave profound and indelible scars.
That's it for this edition of Reporters. See it again, of course, via our website, france24.com. Thank you for watching, and do stay with us.